I just tweeted out today because we did an interview, promoting the book for
Yeah.
GQ, and GQ. I thought it was very bright. They said to every cast member, "Who was your favorite cast?"
Yeah.
And I said the original cast, and I just tweeted it out this morning. You can't even compare. You can't even marginalize. It was the original cast. It was the Beatles. It was Frank Sinatra. It was everything all in one. Hard for people to understand it because we didn't have all the avenues of distribution now,
Yeah.
and we didn't have all the access on our phones. This was it, and you had Belushi and Aykroyd and Chevy, and then of course Billy Murray later. But Gilda Radner, you
Yeah.
forget how brilliant Gilda was,
Yeah.
and what was painful, as you read in the book, and thank you for reading the
Of
book.
course.
But we had to replace that cast,
I know.
Kristian. We had
I
to
know.
replace that cast.
I can't even
Oh,
imagine. I
oh,
can't even imagine.
no,
Yeah. The stress
no.
of that. Yeah.
And the thing is, like I said in the book, I was working. I just want to work. I'm just a
Yeah.
guy that just wants to work, And I was working. I was doing commercials, and I was doing Dr. Pepper commercials,
Yeah.
and I was on stage emceeing at night and doing, I'm a pepper, he's the pepper, she's the pepper, we're the pepper, But
Yeah.
to send to me checks, man. I said, what are residuals? I like this business,
Yeah.
And I'm going like, this is great. So then my agent, Chris Albrecht, for folks kind enough to watch, it's like the guy that put Larry David on the air, put The Sopranos on the air.
Yeah.
He put Sex and the City on the air. I mean, he was like one of the legendary to this day producer, and he was the guy that ran the improv.
Yeah.
We were all there. We would all play baseball together. We would go to my buddy John DeBelso's house for pasta. Larry David was there. Jerry Seinfeld was there. We would play in the Broadway Show League. We were all together like that. We're crazy. And then when we would go in, and Chris goes, they want to find out somebody they need a utility guy
Yeah.
at Saturday Night Live. So I went and I auditioned through a friend, and they liked it. Then they hired me, and then, oh my gosh, I didn't want the job.
Yeah.
Who wants that job? So it was Albrecht and I on the phone in my Ford Fairmont. I remember my light blue Ford Fairmont that Jerry Seinfeld said looked like a government car because it was so plain. And I go, and I don't know how. I guess I was it on the phone, or I was just thinking, whatever it was. I just got off the phone with him, and I remember the conversation. And he said, "You have to do Saturday Night Live." And I said, "Chris, you can't replace the original cast.
Right.
It's going to be a nightmare." Hey, plus Kristian, I took a pay cut. I would make less money doing SNL than I was doing with the commercials.
Wow.
And I went back and forth, and but he won. He goes, "You're doing Saturday Night Live." I said, "Okay, I'll do Saturday Night Live." But the first 10 shows, my brother, oh my gosh.
Brutal, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
It was.
Were you just miserable during that time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, Dick Cavett is one of the brilliant television interviewers of all time. He's a friend. And he said when he had to go up against Johnny Carson, and when he would sleep at night, he was so rigid, just the top of his head and his heels would touch the bed. He was just so rigid,
Yeah.
trying to sleep.
Yeah.
It was awful. And it wasn't Gene Domanian's fault. It wasn't anybody's fault.
Yeah.
It was just impossible to replace Belushi and Aykroyd and Chevy.